I'm Coach Ant.
I'm Coach T, and we're fans that know some.
And first, we want you guys to be sure to like and subscribe.
Yes, sir.
Definitely enjoy, the comments and the engagement with us. So again, tap in with us. Today, again, we want to put out that whole term of fans that know something.
Exactly.
And today I have a special guest. We have Coach Lamont Tillman. First and foremost, I gotta break it down. I gotta break it down.
Yeah.
I gotta break it down first. Coach Tillman, a lot of experience from being an athlete himself, coaching from every level, boys and girls, AAU basketball, high school basketball, AAU director of girls and boys, athletic and basketball trainer. I mean, you name it. And again, I'm talking about from kids to grown adults. Tons of experience right here. And I have to throw this disclaimer out there. We've coached and spent a lot of hours in the gym together, and I have the utmost respect for Coach Tillman. So we're happy to have you here, man.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Thank you for being here, man. So I'm going to dive right into my first question now. All right. You ready?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Sir. Let's get it.
All right. Let's get it. So from your experience, you would say, what are the pros and cons of AAU? Let's start with the pros first.
The pros of AAU, the obvious for the older athletes is going to be the college exposure.
Yeah.
In the summer months, spring and summer months, that's when college coaches can get out and watch them play.
Yeah.
And that's when they make an effort to go out and watch the kids that they're currently recruiting.
Right.
Okay.
To show them that they're really interested.
Yeah.
They want to be seen. The college coaches want to be seen. And then it gives the unrecruited players an opportunity to prove themselves, to show what they got.
Okay.
So that's the biggest pro for AAU. Then when you talk about the younger kids who aren't at a recruitable age yet, it's all about them just practicing.
Okay.
It's reps.
Yeah.
It's learning to play the game.
Okay.
It is building a basketball IQ and a foundation and putting them in positions to play against other young athletes that they don't normally get to play against.
Okay.
Playing against kids from other states, other cities, other towns, whatever the case may be. So you get to see some different faces, and it's not the same people that you play against, every weekend at the rec, the park, and things of that sort. And it gives them an opportunity a lot of times to play in structure, in some type of structure.
Yeah.
So those are the biggest pros outside of this natural social aspect. I think a lot of kids, and our relationship began, with AAU basketball.
Right.
So some of the relationships that you build are long-lasting, life-lasting relationships.
Right.
So there's also a social community aspect to it as well.
Okay. I like that. Now let's dive into some of the pros or the cons, you might say. What are some cons of AAU?
It's getting oversaturated.
Okay.
Back when I played AAU, when I was in high school, it was for the select few.
Right.
It wasn't everybody could play.
Yeah.
Right.
And I believe, at least in Columbus, I graduated in 96, not to date myself.
Too late.
But back then, I think going into my senior year when I played AAU for the first time, that was the first time, at least in the Columbus area, they started having second teams, like an A team and a B team.
Okay.
So really before then, it was like,
it
was cutthroat.
Yeah.
Like you either was it or you wasn't.
Right.
Yeah. You see 5 and 6 teams for one AAU squad now.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was on the second team. I was on the B team. And but when you go out to those tournaments, then it was only the best of the best that you saw out on the road. And it was a life-changing experience for me. Even at that time, I saw Tim Thomas for the first time.
Oh, wow.
And he was, one of the first like point forward, big guard wing guys that could go, that you could see. And I saw him like, oh, he's dribbling. He's not a post player.
He's not in the post.
Right.
What's going on?
Oh man, it was different, but it's really watered down now. We got teams on every corner. We got 5, 4, and 5 teams per age group in the same club. And it's for the top players, and some kids get a false sense of where
they
they're
think
at.
They should be,
and I don't knock anybody for having goals and dreams and wanting to go to the NBA and go to college and things of that sort. But I think more than the players, the parents are getting a false sense of what's going on and what's reality, and how good their child really is, and what the likelihood of them actually making it to Ohio State or some big time college or the NBA. The likelihood of them making it there is still very slim.
So how do you balance that? Because I know, again, we've dealt with so many situations, right? And you made a couple good points as far as there's so much more to get out of AAU as far as the reps and the practices, because we've seen kids that just because they play and practice AAU and maybe they weren't the best on the AAU team, but once the high school season started, they were starters on their high school team because they're in the gym. We practice twice a week, and then we had the tournaments and all that. So how do you try to get that message to the parents that it's more than just if your kid is not like the guy or the girl on the team, there's other things to gain from it and to keep them around?
It's just really keeping an open, honest line of communication with your parents and the players, and making sure as coaches that we are willing to have some of those tough conversations, knowing that it's coming from an area of love. I'm gonna tell you the truth because I really care about you and your future, and really helping you get to a point where you can feel as though you're the best that you can be. And that's the biggest thing, is that honesty piece, and that's another con of AAU, is that you got any and everybody trying to coach and trying to be directors and things of that sort. And they're not really in it for the right reasons. They're in it because it makes them look good. It gives them a sense of worth and value in the community because I'm a director or I got this player on my team. And we won this game and won that tournament. So they're walking around with their chest and their chin held high, and they somebody. But at the same time, these kids are being misled. Thinking that they're about to be something, do something, gain something. Got all this NIL stuff going on, so everybody think they're about to get paid.
Right out the gate.
Transfer portal.
The portal, and the portal is made it to every part of basketball.
Every level.
The portal is, whether there's an official portal or not, the portal is open.
Wow.
And you know what? It's two things I want to say. One, there was I don't know if you've seen this, but there was a kid in football where it was a 6U.
Yep, definitely 6U. Literally,
his parents put out a post that he was leaving his Pop Warner team to enter the transfer portal.
I didn't see.
They had the whole shebang. They had a flyer with the teams,
all the other U teams that offered him.
So they had the post with with that being said.
We want to thank the current team for everything you've done, but we've decided to enter the transfer portal. Had his weight 55 pounds.
This is wild, 6U. Man. 6U, man.
I'm gonna send that to you.
Unreal.
But the other thing, real quick, Lamont brings up a good point, because like the last year we coached with St. Stephen's before we came over to the Hoopsters, right? We had our team. You knew our team that we brought over with the Mike Wells and those guys. we took our lumps early on, and then by the time we got to that level was ninth grade. We went to LeBron James tournament that he used to do, and we had a B team. The B team was just put together, and they weren't good enough. So we had the parent meeting, and we explained we just put the B team together. The A team is going to LeBron. We brought out the schedule. Some of the parents on the B team were mad. Coach Ant's team's going to LeBron James while we're not going. And I tried to explain, like, I don't, you guys aren't ready for that. So God rest his soul, Lonnie Poindexter said, Ant, let him go. They went, played on a Friday night, 2 games, beat by 56 one game. Then 82 points the next game.
Wow.
And to your point, they don't realize when you go to those tournaments, the talent
is different.
You
it's
have
different.
7-footers, and the parents was like, it's no way he's in the ninth grade.
You wanted to come.
And I'm like, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because the best of the best is coming. So, I mean, to your point, those are the things you try to protect parents, and but some coaches don't want to have that honest conversation. Do you think that's an issue too, where coaches shy away from those honest conversations?
Yeah, and we're in an era of everybody talks about player empowerment. Now you got parent empowerment. In these AAU. So the parents is really running things. The parents is dictating what's happening, what ain't happening, because once again, that portal is open and everybody's afraid of the portal. So it's like, okay, if you don't want to take me to the King James, I'm going over here. They gonna take me to King James. Instead of, and this is what I always try to tell parents when they're trying to figure out AAU and kind of how to navigate AAU and how to break into AAU. It's like, no, pick a coach. Don't pick a program. Pick a coach. Go find you a coach that you trust, that you believe has your kid's best interest in mind and can help your kid develop. Don't worry about what names across their chest. Pick a coach and stick with that coach, because at the end of the day, especially the young players, this is about development. It's about development. And then you got to get with somebody who you trust, that when they tell you, nah, you ain't ready for that, you can rest in the word that they just gave you, that you ain't ready for that without taking it personal.
Right. Before you go to your next question, I just want to commend you, because I have a kid that came up in your program, right? And I just wanted to say, just to see your C League, man, for those kids who are not AAU ready, right? Where they can get fundamental. You offer training on the side, to get better. So if they do desire that, they can move up and eventually get to AAU. So I wish there were more programs that would follow this process, man, because it's big time,
it's
man.
Bigger than basketball.
It's big. It's definitely bigger than basketball. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Yes.
And that's why it was a good fit for us, because sports is a tool, right, to a bigger picture in life. And Coach Tillman and your program, it represents that in an environment where it's hard to navigate, because you're battling against the people that don't operate that way. So that leads to my next question. Like, with social media, do you find it hard to try to keep teams together because you got people posting this, and you create a perception versus the reality, and it's easy for people to follow the perception versus the reality? Do you?
No, it is. It's hard to take a team. Back in the day, like, we used to keep our core groups together without a whole lot of resistance. Now, there was always some of the bigger brand name, household names, the Nike sponsored teams, and that would come and try to poach your best players. At the end of the day, it is what it is. That's a part of the business.
That's a part of business. Right?
But nowadays, with social media, with everything that's being posted, and everybody's been being bombarded with these all the glamour, and that, because that's all they see. You watch highlight tapes. Man, you would think some of these kids.
I've seen kids that average 6 points.
Oh my
a game.
goodness.
I know they average 6 points a game, but the highlight looks like, man, he averaged
highlights
30.
is all 6 of the points. That's what they highlight reel is them 6 points. Like man, he had 6.
Yeah.
Man, I bet he had 30 in that
Right.
game. No,
Right.
I had 6.
Right.
Those 3 buckets you just saw on
no
that
rebounds, no assists.
That one.
Yeah. But they're being bombarded with all of this stuff on social media.
Yeah.
So parents have questions. And I would just encourage parents to always ask questions. Do your research.
Yeah.
Right.
Do your research, because some of the stuff that's being thrown out there, I won this tournament. There's tournaments everywhere.
Yep.
Right.
And I mean, in Columbus alone, on any given weekend, there will be 6 tournaments in Columbus. We ain't that big.
Right.
Columbus is not that big. Right. You have all of these tournaments, and everybody be like, "Ooh, we won
a
this tournament."
championship.
And I get it. You're gonna post up. I just did it last week.
Mm-hmm.
I posted my 4th grade team.
Yeah.
It's a developmental team that I've been coaching that I picked up, and we won a tournament. There was 5 teams in that tournament.
But your intentions, intentions is right.
Sure. Yeah. And we post and we put stuff out there. It is for the kids.
Right.
It's for the kid. The kids want to see their face.
Yeah.
And we're talking about 4th grade.
Yeah.
These kids and the parents want to see their kids' face on social media. And the kids were excited.
That's good.
They were excited. They were happy. It's a developmental team.
Yeah.
They trying to figure it out. And over the course of the weekend, we figured some stuff out, and we went home winners.
Yeah.
It was champs.
Awesome feeling.
Hey, that's
great feeling.
It's funny because I remember when we talk about like doing things for the kids and the intention. So piggybacking off of like that B team we had, right? We put them in a tournament that was a little bit tougher that year, but we only had that week. They were missing 4 players. So I grabbed Mikey, I grabbed Will, but I put them on the bench. They were coming off the bench on the B team to help us out.
Right.
They kept the game and the championship got tight, and those kids were looking for Mikey and Will to come in the 4th quarter. I'm like, no.
Yeah, build some
we got you guys here.
Yeah.
Finish it out.
Yeah.
And they were looking at me like, but coach, you gonna put Mikey in?
Yeah.
You gonna put Will in? And I'm like, no, you guys go ahead. We got it. And they end up winning. But, just stuff like that, it's the intention. So
for sure.
So I have a couple of questions. I mean, you gave us some really good meat on what advice you would give parents, man. So I don't want to visit that one. But I do want you to touch on some do's and don'ts.
Okay.
Of AAU parenting. Let's start with that first, and then I'll follow with my second question.
That can be a whole
right.
episode.
Dues. I think I said it before. Do your research.
Yep.
Don't just blindly go out there, but ask questions.
Yep.
Find out who the coach is going to be. If they can't tell you who the coach is going to be, don't commit until you know.
Yep.
Don't allow anybody to rush you into a decision.
Yep.
Because a lot of times they'll put pressure on you. Oh, we need a deposit tomorrow.
Yeah.
They're really rushing kids to make decisions to be able to get you locked in, and they get you locked in once you pay that money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't let anybody rush you into a decision that you're not comfortable making. Also, make sure, I said it again, I said it before, pick a coach, don't pick a program. Okay,
that's
that
so
coach.
That's so important.
It's very important.
That coach is so important at the young ages.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is be a cheerleader. Be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Make sure the kids especially at a young age, they know and understand that you are proud of them.
Yeah.
They know
regardless,
and understand that it's not just about winning and losing.
Yeah.
You can still have success.
Yeah.
Even though the score may say otherwise on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
You may not come home with the trophy, but you got better this weekend.
Yep.
So make sure that they are learning those life lessons, and then have tough conversations with them early on. They understand more than we think. More than sometimes what we know, but they can understand, especially the young people who don't get enough playing time, don't get the amount of playing time that they want to.
Yeah.
Don't just go start immediately just bashing and beating up the coach.
Yeah.
Let's figure out
the why.
And how we can get better and how we need to put them in a position to be successful and continue to learn.
Yeah.
Right.
Don'ts.
Yeah, this one's gonna be good. You see, I got my finger crossed.
Don't go chasing a scholarship.
Yes.
Don't run around doing any and everything you think is going to get you a scholarship.
Yeah, that's good.
Good point.
Good point. Great point.
Work on development. Just get better.
Yeah, I like
Just get better. Don't worry about who's watching, who's not watching. Always be alert and aware and mindful that you never know who is watching.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you want to instill in them the idea and the work ethic and the mindset of I need to play this way all the time, regardless of who's watching.
Yep.
Regardless of who's in the gym, who's not in the gym. It's not about them. This is about the game.
Yeah, that's good.
So
that's a good point.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Everybody starts chasing stuff. Quit chasing stuff.
They start doing
just get
branding
better.
already and all.
Just get better because all of that other stuff will come. It'll come. If it's for you, you're gonna get it.
Right.
Yep.
It's gonna come.
That's good.
And we've always said coaches find talent.
Yeah.
You don't have to do a whole lot of extra. Now, you want to put yourself in a position to be seen, and you don't want to just say, "Oh, I'm gonna make it to college," and you don't leave your backyard.
Right.
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 You got to still use wisdom. You know, but at the same time, I'm not chasing it because the coaches they're gonna find me. They're gonna see me at the right time because there is a difference between gaining exposure and being exposed.
Nice.
That's great. Yeah.
Preach.
That is great
difference.
advice, man. Like I hear you loud and clear.
Man, that's good.
And I just wanted to say this, and you hear it from a coach, a coach now. Is it true that even when you're chasing that scholarship, right, outside of the kid doing the right thing and letting it come to them, they're looking at the parents and how they conduct themselves too, right?
For sure.
Right?
You got to deal with that parent.
No, for sure. And now, of course, there's a certain level where if you are good enough, they will figure out how to deal with your parents.
Okay.
If you're good enough. I've seen it. If you're good enough, they'll figure that out.
Okay.
But if you borderline,
which a lot of kids are.
Most kids are.
Right.
So you talking about 85%.
Right.
Of y'all need to make sure parents don't sabotage your kid's future.
Yes.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, if you really look at it, you got a good relationship with your kid. If they make it, they gonna take care of you.
You're right.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
You ain't gotta do a whole lot. Just let them
let it be.
Let them be.
Yep.
Just be a cheerleader.
Yes, sir.
Just be a cheerleader. That's it.
Yep.
No, that's good.
That's good. So in the media, man, there's currently been some pro athletes, right, that's been bashing AAU and why it's bad and we need to do something about it. And I'll get Ant's take on that first. What do you say to that? And then we'll come back to you, Coach.
Well, I think, and Lamont and I have seen this, we've been on the road and you walk in the gym and you'll see like CP3's team or you'll see, LeBron James when he had his team. And I think the point that the pros are making is correct as far as some of the things that we're talking about today as far as the issues with AAU. But I would say part of that is they play a role in that because when you have these pro athletes that have the resources that they have and then they're coming with their team, a lot of people within those areas want to be on their team. And then you have other people with resources that may not be pro athletes that are creating their teams to be in that same conversation and attention and all the other things that comes with having a high profile team. So my take is I think they make a lot of good points about AAU as far as some of the issues and the things that, again, we discussed today. But I do think their involvement with how they put together their teams plays a role in it as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, because I know we've had many kids that wanted to go to King James because King James.
Yeah, because it was King James. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thinking that LeBron was going to be at their
Going to
practice.
be at their practice and you know and all that stuff. So and then you had coaches who were using that for a recruitment piece. So again, it plays a role into all that shuffling and things of that nature. That's all I would say.
Yeah, Coach.
I mean, no, I think the pros, the things that they've been speaking out about, I think they need to continue to speak out about them, because it's really about the game.
Yeah.
How it's being coached, how it's being played, and the things that we are glamorizing, and the things we're spotlighting are the things that make it difficult. And the thing is that the pros see it from a different vantage point, because they're already up at the pinnacle.
Yeah.
They've reached.
Yeah.
Yep.
They've gone through the process, and whatever that process is, what was it for them?
Yeah.
They've gone through it, and they're already at the pinnacle. So they see the development, and they see the traction that the Europeans are gaining on the Americans.
Yeah.
So they've seen how they train and what they're doing, and how they are starting to now integrate themselves into the NBA. And they see them coming. They're like, they are coming.
And it's keep expanding.
They are taking our jobs in the NBA. I'm coming to take your spot.
Yeah.
I want that check. And they coming, and everybody they want to play in the NBA. That's everybody. It's the best league in the world. You know, so they want to play. But they see how they train, and they see how they're being developed from a young age overseas. How they're being developed and how they're playing a certain brand of basketball.
I was going to say, I think that's the main part is the brand of basketball, because it's not just like the way they train. They're training to play the game the right way. Our AAU is trending where it's just about the glamour aspect of it. It's about the post. It's about the tournament. It's about
the
stats. It's about the highlight, versus when you have these guys overseas, they're going through these. Their kids get sent to camps or academies to train. And then they build their skills from that. Then they're playing basketball games. They're playing, and then they're training. They're going through like we did with our teams. Like we practice,
right?
And then they're getting better learning the game. If I'm on an AAU team and we're not practicing, we're going to this tournament, and I'm really more so worried about my scholarship or my stats, I'm gonna fall behind on really knowing like how to play the game when it really comes down to it. So.
Well, and that's the thing that in some of those pros who were speaking out, what they were talking about is how here with our AAU, we'll play 6-7 games in a weekend. They're not doing that in Europe. I'm practicing, then we'll play a game on the weekend, but I'm right back to practice. So they're doing way more practicing than they are playing games.
A boatload of games with no practice. With no
practice.
team concept. You don't really know your coaches.
The toll it's taking on these kids' bodies.
Right.
And you're talking about these injuries and things of that sort that we're exposing our kids to because we got to keep up with the Joneses. They're playing. We got to play.
Yeah. So that's probably why they're a little bit more fundamentally sound out there then, because their practices are basically they're spending countless hours of repetition, and then, you know, the fundamentals of the game, and then getting that mental understanding of why they're doing this over and over again. So it makes sense.
And to be honest, like even the teams that I had, we won and beat some teams that on paper people probably thought we wouldn't beat because we practice, and I've had them for so long. At least the core, where the guys knew the system, you know, and we would be able to, you know, put that out there. So, but I did have a question, want to shift a little bit. So when we talk about AAU, or not just AAU, because again, I have to mention, which I forgot, This man did win a national championship.
State championship.
State my bad. State championship in high school. This is state championship. So congratulations again.
Appreciate it.
Give you your flowers.
Yeah.
When it comes to like evaluating players in practice, let me explain to the parents like how do you evaluate players, because some parents think that it's all about going in, being aggressive and scoring in basketball, but just want you to break down when you are in a practice making up your team, how do you evaluate, okay, this kid got it, should make the team?
It depends on the level. You know, when I think about, we were putting together our 4th grade team, you know, 4th grade is willing body, willing to get better, supportive parents, you know, a certain level of athleticism, maybe some type of foundation already, because it's about development,
right?
You know, as you get older, I also coach a 16U girls team, in the summer. That team is a little different. The team's elite. So when I'm evaluating players for that team, it's, you have to have a certain level of skill, ability, want to, desire, from the jump, you know, to even get considered for that team.
Right.
But when you're trying to build a team and not just throw together the best and brightest talent, you really are looking at their foundation, you know, seeing if you can get a glimpse in just a short conversation when you're talking about a tryout, a short conversation, like, what's your why? Like, do you want to play in college? Do you want to just be a good high school player? Are you doing this because your friend is doing it? Are you doing it just to keep in shape for your other sport that might be your main sport?
Gotcha.
You know, why are you doing this? And that kind of thing from an AAU perspective will determine what team we put you on. I might not put you on the national traveling team if you're doing this just to keep in shape or softball, or whatever the case may be. But if you're saying, I want to be in the WNBA, I want to be in the NBA, I want to go to college, I want a scholarship, you know, then now that puts you in the running for maybe the national traveling team.
Gotcha.
So all of those things come into play when trying to pick the teams or pick players for the team, because the skill, the ability, the shooting ability, that's, you know, you either can shoot or you can't.
Right.
You know, you know, you can either handle the ball or you can't. You know, and then, you know, as they get older, we might make some phone calls to some coaches, do some references, because in the tryouts you can only see so much.
Right.
And most of what you're going to see is probably going to be just in an up and down 5-on-5 situation or a 3-on-3 situation, so you can just see them in action.
Right.
You know, what is your vision like? What do you see naturally?
That's a good.
You know, things of that sort. So
that's so
in a tryout scenario, you got a short time span to be able to say, I think they got it. They might not have it. If I'm on the fence, we may ask for some film from their school year, or things of that sort. But from an AAU perspective, that's what it looks like. High school, little different, because you have kids who maybe made the team as freshmen. As you start to get older,
maybe they didn't get as good, or another kid got better.
Because now you're competing against an AAU. You're typically competing against kids in your age group,
right?
For the most part,
right.
You know, high school, you're competing against 9th grade through 12th grade. So everybody is kind of lumped together, and the only team that's kind of locked is your freshman team. Only freshmen play on the freshman team. Now your freshmen can play up. But at the same time, you're competing against multiple age groups. So I might have made it my freshman year, but my sophomore year, now I'm competing against incoming freshmen, sophomores in my class, and then juniors who may play JV. So it gets more and more difficult. But then you got kids that are just really good kids, kids that are really good teammates. And you know, you have to be able to, from a coaching perspective, you got to be able to adapt
Right.
to what you have.
Yeah.
Because I can't, I'm not going to another school district
Mm-hmm.
to grab a kid to come play on my team.
Right.
You know,
It's
so
a little different,
I mean, I have to work with what I got.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's where high school basketball,
different from-
AAU is a little different. Because the AAU kids are coming from everywhere.
From all over.
Yeah.
From all over the place.
It's funny because I've had kids who I know can score
Mm-hmm.
going through my tryout, and we already knew they would be on the team. And they would do the least amount of scoring in a tryout. But when they did score, you knew, okay,
Yeah.
he or she got it. And I've had kids where they showed that vision. So I knew, okay, yeah, that's a good point guard. Or this post player made a couple good movements on defense and passed out the post. There's a lot of little things that I think the good coaches look for.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes parents, they will, and I've heard it, you know, parents will tell their kids, again, you got to shoot, you got to be aggressive. You have to be a smart basketball player going into a try. You don't, you want to be aggressive, but you don't want to go out there. I've seen kids, and I'm sure you've seen it. I mean, they're gunning and gunning and gunning in a tryout because they want to show like, I got it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And from a tryout perspective, you want to be able to go into a tryout. If I'm giving advice to a kid or a parent, things to think about, when you go into a tryout, you want to do a couple of things. You want to defend. You got to sit down and defend.
Yeah.
If you don't do nothing else, defend. You got to communicate. You got to talk.
Yep.
Okay. Coaches love to hear players talking on the court.
Yes.
It shows your IQ too. Yep.
Helping your teammates, communicating, encouraging your teammates, encouraging people. And then you also share the ball and make open shots.
Yep.
You don't have to make difficult shots.
Yeah.
Like you said, you don't have to show your latest and greatest
Euro
reverse
step.
layup, Euro step.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have
look
to
at the
do
coach.
all of that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't have to show my footwork, you know, all that. I don't have to do all that.
Right.
If I can make open shots, I defend, I communicate.
That's good.
You go into a tryout with those things
do
in
that,
mind,
you're good.
That puts your head.
you're in great shape.
Yeah.
So y'all heard that.
Yeah.
Y'all heard that.
Need to
All right.
take notes.
Yeah.
I wanna go off script, man, because you state champion, right? And you're in a bigger district in the state, right? For those upcoming coaches that are in the city, so to speak,
Okay.
what is your advice on how you would help them to build a program to be as successful as those school districts that may have 50, 60 girls coming out at a time, you know what I mean? Whereas they might have 25 to, if that, at the most. So
the biggest thing is relationship. First, that's where it starts.
okay.
Yeah.
From a coaching perspective, you got to build relationship with your parent or with your players,
Okay.
and your parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But your players, you have to know. They say KYP, know your personnel.
Yep.
And usually you're talking about on the court.
Yep.
You know, you're telling your teammates and the players to know your teammates' strengths and weaknesses. But as a coach, I need to know my players on and off the court. I got to build some relationship.
Yep.
You know, going from, I started out on the boys' side, shifted over to the girls' side.
Okay.
And then I shifted back to the boys.
Okay.
But when I shifted to the girls, I didn't know what to expect. But I was a head coach for 9 years at Westfield North on the girls' side.
Okay.
I was on that staff.
I really enjoyed it way more than I thought I would.
Me too.
I
really
way
did.
more than I thought it would. But the one thing that I did notice, the difference between boys and girls, the girls was really heavy on the relationship piece. Because if you had a good relationship with your players, they will run through a wall for you.
Yes. Yep.
Girls will run through a wall for you. They will have your back.
Yeah.
They will do what you ask. Now, yes, there's all kinds of other stuff to deal with. Guys, you don't have to have that tight of a relationship in order for them to play hard, because they just want to hoop. I'm just coming. I just want to hoop. I just want to be with my boys, and I just want to hoop. I just want to be seen. I just want to, nowadays man, these kids nowadays, they're paying photographers to come and film their games so they can post stuff on social media.
Right.
They gotta have their content.
Right. Yep.
You know. But I think the biggest thing is you gotta build relationship with your players.
Okay.
Once you get that relationship piece together, then you have to make sure on the court you got to know your personnel. Because in high school, like we said, you can't pick just anybody to come be on your team. I can't just go out and just recruit anybody. So I got to be able to adapt to the players that I have and then play through the strengths of my team, of my current team, because every year it could be different. So you got to be flexible as a coach. Don't come in and say, this is how we play. I like to play fast. This is how we're going to play. And if you slow, then you can't help me. You know, if that's not the strength of the majority of your players. Now, if 90% of your kids are fast and they moving, boom, 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 So, I'm sorry if you got an athletic kid that wants to play and he just doesn't fit into that current system, then I'm sorry. You know, but if I got a bunch of unathletic players who are skilled, now I got to think about, okay, offensively, defensively, what are we going to do for this group of kids to be successful? So you got to be flexible.
That's
a relationship,
good point.
That's a great point.
Flexibility, and then you got to take the time and resist the temptation not to dismiss skill work. Every single day in practice, you have to do skill work.
And I was going to ask that
development,
because I know a lot of people have asked, okay, how do I put together my plan? You know, I'm a new coach. You know, I got a new team. When it comes to practice, give some advice on, okay, you're starting the season, you got your team. How do you prepare? And you don't have to give all your secrets because you are still a coach. You know, people take notes like that's what he do. But give like a broader view of how should a coach prepare their practices leading into a game.
Once you establish how you're going to play, the style of play, you establish, okay, what we want our identity to be. Now your practices should be segments of that. So when I'm talking about skill work, I'm not saying you just go out and just do any random drills. No, I'm gonna do skill work that's helping build towards my offense.
Gotcha.
You know, so if my offense is based upon straight line drives, I'm doing ball handling drills early that are primarily working on straight line drives. And it's ball handling and the things that'll happen in those instances. I'm taking what big picture offense is going to look like, what I want it to look like ultimately, and I'm going to break it down into segments. I'm going to break it down into a ball handling drill that looks like what they're going to experience when we put together our offense. Our shooting drills are going to be shots that they should shoot within our offense. So it's really just taking your offense and then breaking it down into segments, and then the same thing with your defense. You know, several years ago when I was with the girls, I had a group that wasn't as athletic as some of my other teams, but we still wanted to be able to apply pressure. You know, so we implemented this offense or this defense called the lock left defense, and nothing crazy, but really we just forced everybody left. We would not let you drive right, and of course 90% of players are right-handed. You know, so you're making everybody utilize their weakness, what we perceive to be their weakness. So everything we did in our defensive breakdowns was all about implementing that defense. So we didn't do that year. We didn't do the typical zigzag defensive drill. You know, zigzag, traditional zigzag. No, that we had to take that out of our plan because we didn't want them doing that.
So
we took that out. because that wasn't the movement that they would be doing, because we're not letting you go right. So everything is forcing you left.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that you got to think about
Mm-hmm.
in your practices, is breaking down your offense and your defense in a way to where now it's in small segments, small side. And
Championship.
man,
State
championship comes right here.
championship. I mean,
Man, this type
I
of
didn't
coaching.
think of that on my own. I've had some really good coaches that I've sat under.
Yeah.
That I've watched, that I've learned from.
but that's the key, though.
yeah.
You know, because I think what makes you a good coach is the fact that you learn from people and you found a way to apply it in a certain way. I think people get it misconstrued on, okay, for me to be smart or know something, it has to originate with me.
No.
You have to be able to extract the right information and then apply it to what you want to apply it to. So I think you got to give yourself credit for that, because the one thing I don't see as many, and we'll dive into this, but I don't see as many coaches really being innovative and or thinking outside the box or applying information that they learn and then crafting it to fit like their personnel. It's like, okay, I've learned how to do this offense, and no matter who I have on my team,
They're gonna fit. We're gonna plug
we're
and play.
running.
Yeah, we're
You're
gonna plug and
doing
play.
post offense, and all your players are like 5 foot.
Yeah.
You have no post player,
Yeah.
but you got 2 people on the block trying to get the ball. Like, what are you doing? So
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, that's something that when coaches are thrown into situations, and sometimes they are thrown into situations that they didn't ask for,
right?
You know, and sometimes that's what you get, you know. But always, you know, I've been blessed to be able to be in some situations, to be able to watch and sit under some people who have always done it the right way.
Gotcha.
Okay. So my next question: there's always a coach has to give like hard, you know, information to parents and coaches. I mean, parents and players. Give us a scenario and just give some up and coming coaches some advice on how they would handle letting a parent know that their player isn't necessarily, you know, a best fit for your program, and how you would steer them in the way they should go.
And you sugarcoating it. Just what if they're not good, Lamar?
Nah, man.
They're not good, but the parents think they're better than what they are.
Yeah.
What do you do?
In those cases, you really have to lean on the stats. That's where you gotta take. That's one thing that I've learned. Coach Trusley, who's the current head coach at Westville North.
Okay.
And you know, I coach alongside of him, but that's one thing that I have learned from him in a tryout scenario. We stat stuff.
Okay.
So the drills we do, it's a shooting drill. How many did you make out of 10?
Gotcha.
How many?
Nice.
So if any questions ever come up, especially in a tryout scenario, he has some data that he can return to. He got receipts. You know, and he will pull them out and make sure that he uses those as his backup. You know, for. You know, of course, as a coach, an eye test can tell you a lot. But like you said, parents, they don't see with the same eyes all the time.
Right.
So he keeps receipts on all of that. And nowadays with technology, even from a gameplay perspective, even the kids that are on the team, you know, parents and everybody can see the stats.
Right.
They can see the stats. Now, of course, you always have that parent that says, you know, how is my son or my daughter supposed to get better if they don't get in the game? Well, we have receipts Monday through Friday, Monday through Thursday in practice. That says at the end of the day, we've had 4 days weekly to evaluate who we believe is going to put us in the best situation to be successful. And one of the biggest misconceptions is parent to coach is that we don't care about winning. We just care about making people happy.
Oh wow.
and making boosters happy and making the principal happy.
The principal.
Yeah, the principal gets some piece for having a good program
else,
now.
But at the end of the day, coaches want to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not one coach out here that is making decisions that don't coincide with winning.
That's a fact.
So the decisions that the coach makes are decisions based upon how they think is best for the team to win. And as a coach, we have to worry about keeping 12 people happy. That parent is worried about one.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's good.
So that's
the main point right there. Go ahead.
But no, I was gonna say, because we see it in the pro game, right, where these guys stay ready. That's why they're pros. You see a guy who didn't play all. We just seen it with Indiana.
Yep.
You know, you have guys who haven't played all series long and they get in and they're ready. And I think, to your point, teaching parents and teaching players, like, practice is just as important,
if not more.
Exactly. If you're not in that rotation yet, your focus going into practice should be, how do I win that practice?
Yeah.
How do I? That's your game.
Yeah.
And embrace it. Embrace that moment and shine in that moment, and then learn how you can apply what you did in practice in the game. Because if you separate the two, when you do get in the game, now you're playing completely different because you're not ready. So you have to really break it down in that manner. But I was going to ask, like, and this is a question from a parent who is coaching. And he asked me, he wanted me to bring this question. How do you deal with the parents who are coaching and giving advice from the sidelines, but like during the game? So it's really contradicting or counterintuitive to like your message as a coach. And that's one thing that this coach is dealing with. So how do you deal with that?
This is a hard one.
The real answer is I can't control the parent.
Right.
The parent is going to be the parent. Now, every year, preseason, before the season starts, once we pick the team, we have a meeting, a parent meeting, a player meeting.
Say it again.
All right. In that meeting, we kind of set the tone for the season. And we try to lay out some do's and don'ts in a politically correct way, to let parents know kind of how we operate.
Yeah.
So in that meeting is the perfect time to talk about some of those things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we know once those games start, once the lights are on, the parents get caught up just as much, if not more, than anybody.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is we can't control the parent. It's an adult. Yeah. They paid their money to get in the game. There's nothing we can really do outside of having a conversation with the parent and, but you can have conversation with the players.
Yeah.
And make sure that they understand what is proper etiquette, from a player perspective. Because at the end of the day, the reality of it is I cannot control the parent, but I can control the player.
Right.
And let me emphasize the difference, because again, this is a straight question that someone asked me to ask, and I wanted to bring this to you. They're really referring to not just the advice you hear from the crowd, but literally, coming close to the bench, things of that nature, or while the player is on the bench and they're, getting close saying, hey, you need to do this, and even in this same parent coaches other sports too, and said they've seen it in even like baseball where a parent comes to the fence and they're like just really coaching,
you're coming.
I'm talking about breaking that barrier.
So you're no longer in the stands.
Right.
You're on my sideline.
Right. They're dealing with that.
No, my athletic, all what I have to do is give my athletic director a sign, and he would come and remove them from the sideline.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try to address it myself, especially in a game
front
situation.
Of everybody,
but my athletic director would then step in, and if we needed to have a sit down, if we needed to call that person in, we would do that in conjunction with my athletic director to let them know that that's not acceptable. That we can't do that. We can't have that.
Right.
You know, now in the case where that parent is still on the sideline, on in the stands, and they're still coaching, you know, once again, I can't control the parent,
right.
But I can control a distracted player. Yeah. Because if you're being distracted during the game, then you can come and either sit by me or you can go sit by them.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. That's good.
But if they're coming on my sideline, then my athletic director would definitely step in, and we would, as a group, kind of level set that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got one strategy question real quick, because one thing I see a lot when I go to middle school games and even high school games, it seems as if coaches, when they attack the zone, they all do the same things. They try to get it to the middle.
Right.
They go short corner. It's action. And I've seen teams who have like aggressive players and they're winning. And as soon as this team go in zone, it changes their game. And now they're playing more passive. So strategically, what are some ways that you attack the zone without giving up all your, you know?
I mean, I don't think it's a secret.
It's not a secret.
Yeah, but it's not a secret, because our team the last 2 years has faced a lot of zone because we are fast, up tempo, up pace.
Yeah.
Like, we get it and go.
Right.
And, you know, we are a carbon copy of what you're seeing in the NBA Finals right now. We are full court, 94 feet, pressure the entire game.
Nice.
You don't get a break.
Gotcha.
The only time you get a break is if your coach calls a timeout.
Yeah.
If he calls a timeout, that's your only break. Other than that, it is offense, defense. You score on us, we are trying to score within 3 seconds.
Gotcha.
We gone. So teams have in the past really tried to slow the game down by playing zone against us.
Right.
And last year, the year before we won the state, we had our ups and downs against the zone. And so then we started really honing in on, we're not going to be beat or slowed down by a zone. We got to really lock in on how to attack it.
Yeah.
So my preference on attacking a zone is screening it.
And see, that's why I'm going to stop him right there, because that's exactly how I like to attack the zone.
Okay.
And I'll tell a story. I don't know if you remember this, but we were playing, I forgot what team we were playing against. And I forgot, it's been so many years, but you had a really good man-to-man play. And the way the screens work and the way the team was zoning us during a timeout, I was like, Coach, I think we can run. It was a man-to-man play against that zone. And as soon as we did it set like a lot of screens on the ball shift. It opened up. It had screened that player in the middle of the zone, and the wing player on the zone both got screened. And the player on our wing had like a slither of hope. If they just dribbled, it was like wide open, and that's exactly what happened. So just applying more man-to-man philosophies to attack the zone versus being controlled by the zone, screening it has always been something. I wish I'd start doing it sooner, but it was more, later in my coaching years. And then when we start coaching, that was my philosophy. But I do not see that happening when I go to a lot of games.
Yeah, and we run the. I don't care what type of zone you play. We run the same base.
Okay.
And we are looking to screen the zone and get it to where they're in a rotation, because once they're in a rotation, it's like man to man at that point.
Yeah.
So you're attacking the zone. You're not being controlled by the zone. You're more so attacking.
Yeah, you have to be aggressive against the zone, and you still have to play inside out. You can't just pass the ball around the perimeter 3 times and then shoot a 3.
Right.
That's what they want you to do.
That's what they want you to do, coaches. That's what you guys, if you take anything from what he just said, because every time I go to, because my daughter cheers, right?
Right.
So I go to the basketball games and I'm sitting there like,
why are they just rotating the ball
same
from
thing.
the same side?
Same thing.
Well, and it's because for kids, it's because it's easy.
Yeah.
And this is what I want to do anyway. We in the Steph Curry age.
Yeah.
You know, this is what I want to do anyway. So, so you going to leave me open back here? Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
And I'm leaving you open for a reason.
Go ahead, shoot that brick.
Right.
We up the court.
Right. Like we say, he with us.
Right.
Wow. That's good. So you're a Duke fan, I heard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Tar Heel here.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
Little rivalry here. No,
Okay.
little friendly rivalry.
Okay.
So I want you to tell me who is your best Duke team. Put them against your best North Carolina team and who wins. And tell
Stepping
me.
back on
Tell
this
me
one.
why.
I'm stepping back on this one.
All time, I'll keep it somewhat current.
Yeah.
Grant Hill, of course.
I knew it was coming. I knew
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
That
yeah.
team was nice.
No,
so I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
even lie.
No,
Grant
Grant
Hill,
Hill for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And back then I was a Pistons fan as well, so it worked out perfectly for me.
Okay.
So when he got drafted by the Pistons, I was like, "Oh man, this is all perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I ain't gotta like nobody else different."
Yeah.
Grant Hill, got to put Christian Laettner in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go Kyrie, J. Will,
Wow.
and oh man, I could go a number of different ways here. Because I could go Zion.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, but I could go Paulo because Paulo is he's next up, man.
Yeah.
For the sake of the, I'm gonna go Paulo. I'm gonna go Ben Carroll.
Okay.
So that's Grant, Laettner, J. Will, Kyrie, Paulo.
Whew. That's hard to deal with now
Yeah.
on paper. That's big time.
Well, Carolina got some dogs
Now,
too.
and
now.
that's the thing is,
Yeah.
on any given year by year, we will take care of Carolina. But when you start putting together an all-time list from Carolina, it just, I mean, you start with Jordan. Like,
just for fun.
come on,
Go
like,
ahead. You start with Jordan.
Like,
You got Vince.
You got
know
Rasheed
what's-
Wallace. You got,
Yeah.
you know,
you got
Stackhouse.
But what championship year? Let me change it a little bit.
Championship
What
year?
championship, like the best championship team for North Carolina against, what do you think the best championship team for Duke? Who would you pick to go against each other for a national?
Whew.
For it all?
Gosh, man, that's rough.
Would you pick Jordan's team?
I have
he was
to.
But he was a freshman.
Yeah, but you had Worthy.
Yeah.
Sam Perkins.
Perkins. Yeah, that was a great team too,
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
I have to pick that Jordan team. Yeah, as a freshman, I'll put that team up against any Duke team.
I mean, yeah, and just even from my all-time list, I got Laettner and Grant Hill.
Yeah.
So that
So I
team
would
right
have
there.
to go with that team.
Yeah,
With the Hill boys and Bobby Hurley.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a
That
squad.
that was a
tough
squad.
team.
Yeah,
That was a tough team.
squad.
yeah.
I don't know, you know, if you put together an all-time
Yeah, that's tough.
list, you know, and also what it also depends on, are we playing today's NBA?
Right.
type
That's a
game,
good point.
Or
Yeah.
back then. Back
Yeah.
then, I'm going Carolina.
Yeah,
In today's game,
Duke, definitely.
oh,
Duke,
we
yeah.
might be
Yeah.
able to.
Yeah. I have to give you that because we talked about this not too long ago. The eras, you know, how how Lambeer would be able to play in today's game. He would be a bench player. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man.
That's up for
Lambeer might be able to play in today's game.
I don't think
'cause
so.
He was hitting that top of the key three, and he was still a good defender.
Yeah, see, this is going to be a good debate.
Laying beer. Remember, I'm a Pistons fan.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I said that. I wanted to trigger you.
You're trying to pull a fast
pull
one.
a fast one. Yeah.
Like, I don't know about that Isaiah fella.
Yeah, but I think the Duke North Carolina rivalry over the years has still remained one of the best rivalries in sports.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure. In sports.
Yep. So I want to pivot to some pro basketball and specifically WNBA, right?
Okay.
Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, the rivalry is just, it seems like it's been more about that versus just the all around good basketball that's being played in the WNBA. What I would like you to do is give your thoughts on the WNBA. Like how do you think that rivalry has affected the viewership, I should say, or the understanding of how really good basketball they really play outside of that rivalry?
No, I mean, I think unfortunately and fortunately for the WNBA is that's what draws the eyes, the rivalry.
Yeah.
Good TV is made by rivalries.
Yeah.
And so for them to create or manufacture, whatever you want to say it is, a rivalry between those two, they've been setting this thing up since they was in college.
Yeah.
It's a setup.
Yeah.
I want to get these. I want to get these eyes on these. I gotta get these eyes. I gotta pay these bills. I gotta increase these salaries.
Right.
And the only way to do that is you gotta create some drama. And the good thing is that it's not just aimless drama. It's not just I'm drawing my eyes to something that ultimately is bad.
Yeah.
I think what people have found out, I've drawn my eyes to it. You've gotten my attention, but then it's like, oh wait, hold on.
Yeah.
These girls can hoop.
Yes.
Like these girls can play.
Man,
like
I'm
these games
huge
is
fan of the
actually
WNBA. Huge
good to
WNBA.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people have been actually pleasantly surprised that the WNBA, that women's basketball is good basketball at the highest level.
I was shocked.
It's good basketball.
He actually turned me on to watching it, and it's like, man, like what have I been missing? Like I shut that out just because the stereotypical is it's not going to be as good as men's basketball, right? But man, I just watched the game the other day.
Oh, they can hoop. And we've coached girls, but to see when you coach high school and youth players, and then you see the WNBA players, you really understand they can hoop.
Yeah,
they are really good. And then I've been to live games, and man, they can hoop. Yeah. I think the rivalry is great, but again, do we feel like with social media, does it sometimes shift would again allow people to be more negative
towards it? Yeah.
No,
than it needs to be, because it's a lot. I love the rivalry. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of both.
Right.
Whenever you have a rivalry and you get the public involved in the rivalry, obviously, just like Duke versus North Carolina, we got to pick sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have, people aren't just playing it in the middle,
right?
Or is it really wouldn't end up being a real rivalry and there wouldn't be no talk.
Yeah.
The talk is all wrapped around people picking sides. And when people pick sides, then you're bound to have a bunch of negativity.
Yeah.
Whether it's direct or indirect, because you see it in the LeBron Jordan debates all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to bash LeBron, but I indirectly start bashing him just so I can say Jordan is the best.
Yeah.
And so you see it all the time. But I think people have the basketball purists and the people who really like the game of basketball can kind of filter through some of that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the people who want drama, they just gonna look for the drama.
They're gonna look for it.
I'm gonna look for the drama. I might not even watch the game, but I might be paying attention to what happened on Sports Center, and they say, there was, a scuffle. Who was it against? Who was in it? Who was involved in it?
Right.
So just like just like people are watching highlights, people will just catch the snippets and the clickbait That's all over the place.
Yeah.
Just to make sure, so I could just be up on the drama.
Up on the drama.
You're right.
Now, that's
right.
a good point.
And at the end of the day, it is indirectly helping the WNBA.
Yeah.
Because the viewership is up, people are watching it, people are cheering, crowds are rowdy, you know, and the women hopefully will be rewarded for it, you know, when they get to their next collective bargaining and things of that sort, and some TV contracts come through, you know, and they can start really kind of reaping some of those benefits.
I think it's definitely coming, because you see, I mean, obviously with the branding and sponsorships or endorsements, they're there, but I think the salaries at some point it's going to be up. Because one thing I see, I don't know if you guys, everyone's familiar with the Big Three, but then you have the Unrivaled League.
Yeah.
To me, I like that better than the Big Three. I think the Big Three took notice because you can see some of the names they really recruited to get to come into this year. Because I like,
and they getting paid too.
Yeah, they're getting paid, and I like the fact that you have it on, you know, full court, 3-on-3s, a little smaller, but it's full court. That makes it more exciting. I've been to the Big Three. It's cool, and I like it. But when I saw that full court 3-on-3, I'm like, whoa, that's like, man, I like this better.
But them dudes that's playing in the Big Three ain't trying to run up and down the court.
Right. Right. That's true.
That's true.
So that's the biggest difference there, is that the Unrivaled League is for current players.
Yeah, that's true.
Current professionals. That Big Three is, you know, I can still shoot.
I can shoot, but I'm not running up and down that court.
You know,
but they may be changing a little bit. They're getting.
You think so?
Yeah, they're getting some guys that are a little bit closer to, you know,
to retirement age.
Right.
Yeah. So, no, I mean, and I think they both have value, and I think both leagues did a good job of marketing and getting people to watch and making their game exciting for their audience.
Yeah.
And I think they'll both continue
to be successful
to grow.
Yeah,
you know, that one-on-one, the one-on-one
thing
that they're doing now.
We'll see how that grows.
Yeah, we'll see how that grows.
They're trying to bring Melo in the conversation. And Melo's not doing that.
He ain't doing that.
I mean, when you got more, because you know, just like I know, like one-on-one only tells like so much, but people can make a lot of one-on-one. So you have some people who have more to gain by beating a certain name in one-on-one versus someone else.
And that's the thing is, I think the guys who are going to do some of that stuff, they are players who feel as though they still have something to prove.
Right.
You know, guys like Melo, he ain't got nothing
to prove.
He has absolutely nothing to prove.
You got more to prove if you beat Melo one-on-one. It means that you're a better basketball player than Melo.
Yeah, like Melo is like, no, I do not compete at that type of level. No more, and nor do I intend to.
Right.
Those other guys, I mean, you could tell Beasley and them, you could tell he hooped daily.
Yeah.
Like, he ain't never stopped.
Yeah, he's a professional one-on-one.
Oh, man. Yeah, exactly. He out to prove a point.
Professional one-on-one.
Can't beat me one-on-one.
Yeah.
He's a beast, though.
Yeah, he is.
He had some potential in the league. He had a decent career. I always liked his game a lot. Like, he's really good.
Yeah.
I got a funny story.
Go ahead.
So we're at and I missed. So this story came kind of secondhand, but our head coach, we were at a scrimmage in the summertime. And like I said, we play fast. We get up and down, get up and down, get up and down. And that's all we do. Our kids don't know even the guys that come off the bench, they don't know anything different. Like, if we try to play slow, the kids will be lost, right? So we're beating this team and beating the brakes off of them. We sub, and we're still just killing this team. And I mean, it got to the point where the other team was just stopped playing.
No,
I mean, they weren't even getting up and down the court, and the coach is getting mad. He's getting mad at our coach. He's getting mad at our head coach. And, you know, take the press off and, you know, just get mad. And then out of nowhere, he challenges him to a game of one-on-one. We can go outside right now and play one-on-one.
That's funny.
You got to be beaten. Like,
time out. We're going to clear the benches. Let the coaches get at it. That is hilarious.
Challenge you to a game of 1-on-1.
Man.
Wow.
That is
never.
And this coach, obviously, he was younger,
Yeah.
more fit.
Like, come on, bro. Like,
He's-
really?
Oh, man,
man.
I would love to
It's
have
like-
been there just to see it, man.
And our players are in tears.
That's hilarious.
In tears, cracking up, laughing at that.
Well, Coach, it's been a great one, man. This has been a great conversation. Before we get out of here, man, if someone wants to plug into your program, how can they get connected to your basketball program?
OhioHoopsters.com is the main hub for everything that we do, whether it's our youth leagues. We got the C League and the D League. And then we got a 3-on-3. We got a ones league as well that we started last season.
Nice.
As well as our AAU spring and summer travel teams.
Okay.
So you can get all that information on OhioHoopsters.com or on our IG, which is at Ohio Hoopster. Oh no, at Hoopsters Ohio. I think it's
Hoopsters, Ohio.
I think it's Hoopsters Ohio.
Hoopsters Ohio.
Okay.
One of those two.
Yep.
Either Hoopsters Ohio or Ohio Hoopsters.
We'll make sure we plug
Yeah,
it in.
we'll plug it in.
We'll throw it in there.
Whichever one it is.
Yeah, we'll throw it in there.
But yeah. No, I appreciate you guys having me. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, gotta have you back, Coach.
Yeah,
Yes,
for
sir.
sure.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, so again, I'm Coach Ant.
I'm Coach T. Fans that know some.